APC governors replied their PDP counterparts over the state of the nation and more anxiety ahead of the Saturday Edo APC governorship primary. And tonight, the Israeli ambassador to Nigeria will be responding to statement made by a minister in the Hamas government in Gaza who spoke on the program yesterday over the escalation of violence in that region. We'll be getting perspective from the Israel standpoint. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbalwe in Abuja. Let's bring you up to speed with what is happening in the camp of the APC. The governors of the party, often referred to as the Progressive Governors Forum, are cautioning their counterparts in the People's Democratic Party PDP against utterances and actions capable of inciting the masses against the federal government. The chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum and governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma, in a press statement released today, says that economic and security challenges confronting the nation need a collaborative approach towards finding lasting solutions to them and not finger-pointing. Was reacting to the press briefing by the PDP governors on Monday, where they likened Nigeria to another Venezuela. Uzodinma says that it was unpatriotic for those in leadership positions to play the ostrich when they were fully aware of what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was doing to reverse the situation. Tonight on the program, we'll be getting some perspectives on the escalation, the violence and the situation in Gaza. Now, yesterday, a member, the leader of Hamas, spoke on this program, make a far-reaching and very strong statement about the situation as relating to Israel, relating to the United States and the rest of the world, especially the West, and how they perceived what is happening to the Palestine. So tonight, we'll be getting the response from Israel, and the ambassador of Israel to Nigeria will be speaking with me on the program. On the flip side, on the other side, we'll be speaking with a strong and very senior member of the APC in Edo State. There's a lot of anxiety in the air ahead of Saturday's primary. We'll be getting all of these perspectives, so stick around with me, because first and foremost, let's serve you with your political roundup stories.
The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has announced a 37-member Constitution Review Committee on the 1999 Constitution to be chaired by the Deputy Senate President, Senator Barau Jibrin. The committee would also comprise of one lawmaker from each geopolitical zone and the Federal Capital Territory. The committee is expected to review the laws in the areas of artificial intelligence, state police, among others, and is expected to be inaugurated next week, Tuesday. The Northern Traditional Rulers Forum has expressed concerns over the rising poverty, insecurity, and high cost of food in the region and the country at large. The forum warns against an imminent mass action if the present economic crisis in the country is not urgently addressed by the federal and state governments. At a meeting of the Northern Traditional Rulers in Kaduna, the chairman of the forum and Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Muhammad Sahad, says the people of the region are suffering from severe hunger and poverty due to the rising cost of food, coupled with the lingering insecurity that has crippled economic activities in the north.
People are quiet. They are quiet for a reason, because people have been talking to them. We've been talking to them, we have been trying to tell them things will be okay, and they kept on believing.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, has placed a 20 million naira bounty on criminals in the FCT. The minister made the declaration during the parade of suspects for various crimes by the FCT Police Command in Abuja. He explains that the safety of FCT residents is priority to his administration. Therefore, on no account should criminality persist in the region. The governor of Bayelsa State, Doye Diri, has been sworn in for a second term in office. The governor and his deputy, Lawrence Erujapo, took their oath of office and allegiance, one after the other, administered by the state chief judge, Justice Matilda Ayemieye. The colorful inauguration ceremony was attended by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, former presidents Olusegun Obasanjo and Goodluck Jonathan, and the Vice President of Liberia, Mr. Jeremiah Kong. Governor Diri, in his inauguration speech, highlighted his administration's achievement during his first term, while also announcing the policy direction for economic development in the new tenure. The Labour Party has begun the screening of its governorship aspirant in Edo State ahead of its primaries scheduled for this month. Some of the aspirants who participated in the screening exercise at the National Secretariat of the party expressed optimism that the party will ensure a level playing field for all of them and promised to support whoever emerges the candidate of the party. Meanwhile, Labour Party has suspended the National Treasurer of the party, Mrs. Oluchi, over false allegations of financial mismanagement leveled against the National Chairman of the party. Speaking at a news conference in Abuja, the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Obiora Ifo, revealed that Mrs. Okmara was being sponsored by the Lamidi Apapa Group to derail the party. The Benue State Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Austin Agada, has resumed official duties following his reinstatement by Makurdi High Court, presided over by the State Chief Judge. Mr. Agada, who arrived at the party secretariat, which was under heavy security protection before now, was welcomed by party supporters amidst cheers. Agada is calling for peace as he extends olive branch to the governor and his appointees to allow for resolution of the internal disputes.
Thank you so much, everyone. So we have with us tonight Israeli ambassador to Nigeria, Ambassador Michael Freeman, to shed light on the recent developments in the Israel-Hamas conflict. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you, Sean, for having me here.
Thank you so much. Indeed, of course, you heard the minister of in the Hamas government in Gaza. He made some very strong statements regarding the ongoing conflict. How does Israel respond to those kind of heavy allegations against your country?
Well, firstly, I must say I'm a little bit surprised and a little bit disappointed that you had on somebody from Hamas on the TV program. This is Hamas, who are a terror organization who carried out the largest massacre of Jewish people on October the 7th since the Holocaust. You know, I wouldn't expect you to have a representative of Boko Haram here. I wouldn't expect you to have a representative of ISWAP here. So I was really surprised that you would have a leader of a terror organization here in your studio justifying, and he did justify, the massacre and the murder, the butchering, the rape, the torture, the burning of children, the murdering of babies on October the 7th. 1,300 Israelis were butchered, raped, murdered, tortured, children tortured in front of their parents, parents tortured in front of their children, people burnt alive, and 260 hostages taken into Gaza. And here was a man saying that, yeah, that's absolutely fine. And I was stunned to hear that.
I mean, it's interesting that there are philosophical differences between how Israel and some part of the West perceive Hamas, an organization that has somewhat institutionalized itself in that region. And they perhaps have accused Israel of painting them black and not allowing them to have their own freedom. And this was one of the accusation leveled by Hamas yesterday, been echoed by Ahmad yesterday on this program, who says, look, all of these atrocities being perpetrated by, allegedly perpetrated by Israel and being supported by some part of their allies across the globe, is to bring down Gaza and Palestine and subjugate them and occupy their territory. How do you respond to those kind of allegations?
The man, unfortunately, is a liar. A man who is willing to murder babies in their bed, a man who is willing to kidnap a 1-year-old child and a 4-year-old child, an 86-year-old man, and take them into Gaza, a man who is willing to condone the torture and rape of citizens, is also a man who's willing to lie. And we should look at some of the facts here. It's not me who defines Hamas as a terrorist organization only. Israel does, America does, the European Union does, other states around the world do. And I think that we can all agree that when you come into Israel, when you break across a fence, a border fence, and you take children out of their bed in the middle of the night and you murder them, when you go to a music festival and there are young people, 19, 20, 21 years old, partying at a music festival, and you murder them in cold blood, 350 of them, that's terrorism. If that's not terrorism, then nothing's terrorism. It was quite clear that this is what Hamas were doing. Hamas have openly stated that their aim is the total destruction of the state of Israel and the death of every single Jew around the world. That's in their constitution. Again, not my words, their words. But this is who we're dealing with and who Hamas are. And Israel, like any other country in the world, after they carried out these brutal, vicious terror attacks on October 7th, we made it clear that we would respond, that we would go into Gaza in order to make sure that Hamas could never carry out these terror attacks again and that we could bring back our hostages. They are still holding 134 hostages, 134 men, women and children, a 1-year-old baby who has spent nearly half his life in captivity in Hamas, 4-year-old Kfir Bibas, who has also spent his time in captivity. This is outrageous, it's unjustifiable, and we will do whatever we need to return our hostages and to make sure that Hamas can never, ever carry out these evil terror attacks again.
Are there still Palestinians being held hostage in Israel
Well,
at the moment?
Inside Israeli prisons are terrorists, and there are other criminals that are there. You know, when people carry out terror attacks, if I send a suicide bomber into Israel and I send someone to carry out a terror attack and I'm arrested, I get tried, I stay in a court of law, and then I get put in prison for carrying out a terror attack or for carrying out an attempted terror attack or attempted murder. So yes, there are people inside Israeli prisons, Palestinians, who have carried out terror attacks and are there for that reason.
It's interesting that similar allegations that you raised about Hamas and some Palestinians is what Ahmad also raised yesterday, saying himself, his mother, his own father, he served about 5 years in an Israeli prison for no just reason. And there are those who think that how can Israel also defend some of the activity that they say has been an occupation of years upon years of their territory? Is Israel really willing to leave them alone and give them their freedom?
So maybe we should look at some facts. Firstly, yesterday, the Hamas terror representative said that Israel has been occupying them for 76 years. Israel was founded 75 and a half years ago. So that tells you everything you need to know about what the Hamas organization believe. They believe Israel has no right to exist and should never be there. But let's look at some facts. In the year 2000, Israel offered a peace treaty to the Palestinians, withdrawing from the West Bank, from the Gaza Strip, division of Jerusalem, an independent Palestinian state. Bill Clinton, then American president, said it was an amazing offer. The Palestinians rejected it. In 2008, Ehud Olmert, then Prime Minister, made an even more generous offer with even more of the 98% of the Palestinian territories. Again, the Palestinians rejected it. In 2005, Israel left the Gaza Strip. Remember, on the 6th of October, there was not a single Israeli soldier, not a single Israeli inside the Gaza Strip. We left in 2005. We offered the Palestinians the opportunity to build an amazing place. In fact, the Hamas leadership said, we had the opportunity to build Singapore. We chose not to build Singapore because we want to destroy Israel and we want to attack Israel. Look at what's happened. All of the billions of dollars that's been provided by international aid, where's it gone? It's gone into building tunnels. It's gone into making the Hamas leadership rich. Look at the Hamas leaders currently sitting in Qatar. They're worth $3 billion, $4 billion, $5 billion. They've stolen the money, they've stolen the futures of Palestinians, and they've put that money and their futures in their pockets. There are 700 kilometers of underground tunnels inside Gaza that Hamas have built. 700 kilometers. That's nearly twice the length of the London Underground. And that tunnel system is not used to protect the people. It's not used to bring along trains or transport. It's used for the terrorists to hide. It's used for them to store their rockets, for them to store their ammunition and to fire rockets and fire terror attacks onto Israel. That's what Hamas has done. Hamas has sold the future of the Palestinian people. And the end of Hamas will bring peace closer and will be better not only for Israelis, but will also be better for the Palestinians. If you look on the Instagram groups and on the various other social media groups and the Telegram groups, you will see now that more and more Gazans are speaking there about the disaster that Hamas have caused them, that Hamas have brought untold misery and untold disaster onto everything, because Hamas have built a military system that hides behind the civilians. They're not interested in hospitals. They're not interested in schools. They use the hospitals. They use the hospitals to hold our hostages. They use the hospitals to hide their ammunition and to hide their rockets. They use the schools as storerooms. The headquarters of UNRWA, the UN aid agency, underneath was the major data center for Hamas. So they've turned the entire place into a Hamas terror headquarters.
Ambassador Freeman, are you worried? Is Israel as a nation worried about the casualties? I mean, most of which are children, innocent civilians who are on the receiving side in the shellings and in the attack on Gaza, which has caused untold hardship on the people there. Are you worried as a nation about that?
So I would say to you, not only am I worried as a nation, I'm worried as a person. Firstly, I would say we need to be very careful about accepting the figures that are coming out of the casualties. The figures are provided by Hamas, and we've already established that Hamas are willing to lie. Yesterday, your guest said they never targeted children and they never targeted women or innocents, which is a complete lie. 50% of the people who were killed were children and innocents were children and women. Sorry, everybody was innocent on the 7th of October. But so I would definitely make sure that we don't necessarily listen to all of their figures. But I've no doubt that many innocents are dying and many innocents are suffering inside Gaza. And it's a tragedy. How could any human being not be moved by the death of an innocent? But you need to ask who's to blame for that. And the people who are to blame are Hamas. You know, this war could end tomorrow. If Hamas release all of our hostages and surrender unconditionally and say, that's it, we surrender, the leadership surrenders, we will leave. We've got no interest in being in Gaza.
It's a similar thing that Hamad said yesterday. He says that if Israel agreed to a swap of prisoners, that they are ready to...
Well, that's also not true. But firstly, what's Hamas saying? Hamas is saying they will release a 1-year-old baby that they kidnapped from their bed if I release a terrorist that killed 50 people. That, to me, and they don't want one terrorist. For the 1-year-old baby, they want 10 or 20 or 50 or 500 or 1,000 terrorists so they can bring them back into Gaza, rebuild their terror network, and kill Israelis yet again. Because Hamas's fundamental belief is that we must all die. They're not interested in any solution that apart from the death of every single Israeli. So again, understand what Hamas wants. Hamas wants us all dead. So we will do what we need to do to make sure that Hamas can never do it again.
So Israel will not release those prisoners in Israel. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying to you that when we talk about releasing prisoners and getting back hostages, one is a hostage that's been innocently taken. If I said to you, you can have back, many years ago when the Chibok girls were taken and were kidnapped, you can have back the Chibok girls if you release all of the Boko Haram terrorists that are currently in your prisons. People would say, that's not a trade. That you can't compare innocent girls that you kidnapped from a school to terrorists who are sitting in a prison. And that's what we're being asked to do there. So I'm not saying we won't release, but everybody needs to understand what we're being asked to do here. And releasing our hostages doesn't end the war. Releasing our hostages is one of the two conditions. The other condition is that Hamas can never carry out another October the 7th terror attack, and they can never terrorize Israel and never terrorize the Palestinian people.
How do you hope to do that?
Well, at the moment, we're doing it militarily because Hamas are not willing to surrender. You know, I would say to anybody who's saying to us, well, you know, what you're doing is not good. I would say to you, what's the alternative? To allow Hamas to rebuild, to do it again? On your program yesterday, the Hamas terror representative that you had said very clearly he's not ashamed of October the 7th. He thinks it was great. And he said that if he was given the chance, he'd do it again, and that he's not willing for Israel to exist. He said that himself. When that's what Hamas are saying, what are we meant to do? Say, okay, kill us again, we're willing? No country would allow them to rebuild.
So an Israeli anywhere in the world is under threat as long as a Hamas group is in existence.
Not only an Israeli, also Jews. We've seen that there are plots against Jewish communities, there are plots against other people around the world. Every Jew, every Israeli and the state of Israel are at severe threat as long as Hamas exists.
So it's not only within the region. You think that globally there is a threat on every Jewish person and every Israeli. That's what you think.
We know. We saw that in Denmark, it was published that they arrested a group of Hamas terrorists who were planning on carrying out a terror attack. We saw that it was published that in another number of countries that Hamas terrorists were arrested planning out terror attacks. So we know that this has happened. We've seen that Iran, who is one of Hamas's major backers, we've seen what they've done with Hezbollah in Lebanon. We've seen what they've done with the Houthis in Yemen. We've seen what they're doing in Iraq. Iran is backing and carrying out terror attacks around. We've seen that they carried out a terror attack in Argentina years ago, where they blew up the Israeli embassy. They blew up the Jewish Community Center. They have no qualms. These are people who want to destroy Israelis and Jews wherever they were and want to kill us.
So you imagine that Iran is suspect in all of this and is a major backer. That is the thinking of the Israeli nation.
Well, it's not only their thinking, it's been evidence and it's been proven that Iran are a major backer of Hamas financially, training, and they've been involved. We know that they are openly backing Hezbollah. They are backing the Houthis in Yemen. They are backing terror groups in Syria. They're openly admitting to that. There's no...
What would you say that it could be the implication of the escalation of this kind of violence that we're seeing? Because we know that the Prime Minister Netanyahu, there are possibilities and the feelers that Rafah, there might be movement into Rafah if there is a possibility. And there might be possibility that that region might be more engulfed with the military operations by the Israeli nation. What do you think globally could be the implication of these activities?
Look, we're going to operate in Rafah in order to get rid of the 4 battalions of Hamas terrorists that are still there. And we also believe that our hostages are held there. We also believe that the Hamas leadership is there. And so we will need to operate in Rafah, but we also need to know that we need to make sure that the innocent civilians there are not harmed. And we do everything we possibly can to make sure that the innocent civilians are as safe and can possibly be in the war zone that is there. In terms of the implications, look, I think we're all seeing that Iran is working to destabilize the entire Middle East. That's what they're about. That's what they do. And I think that...
For what purpose?
Well, because they believe in a radical extremist ideology that believes in spreading their hate and in spreading their warped form of ideology across the region. And therefore, that's what they're working for. That's what they're doing. We've seen them exporting terror across the region, across the world. And they are a danger, not only to Israel, but to the rest of the world. As we know, these threats often start with Israel, but they very, very rarely end with Israel.
Going forward, in all of this, because Ahmad said yesterday, what could be a dangle for truce will be an exchange or a swap of prisoners. But you said that's not the only reason. How much of, how distant do you see these whole thing being resolved? Because you're saying that the only time you think this war can be over is when you see the end of their Hamas terrorists, when they are incapable of causing havoc or causing any attack on Israel.
Absolutely. Look, we hope that's going to be soon. Prime Minister Netanyahu said recently that he believes that we are making significant progress in the battle and that soon, and again, I can't tell you an exact time frame, it depends on the military, but we have a military that is doing everything they can to avoid civilian casualties, that is doing everything they possibly can to uproot Hamas. And I hope that soon we will be able to take out the remainder of those battalions, that we will be able to take out the leadership of Hamas, and that we will be able to embark on a better pathway for both Israelis and Palestinians. My war is not with Palestinians. I'm a father of 2 young children. And I know that the future is built on the fact that for my young children, they will have a better future. That means that the Palestinians also need a better future. And the only way that's going to happen is if we work together and Hamas aren't in the picture.
Well, is it possible also that, that Israel is able to make a promise of allowing Palestine to have some kind of freedom that they're asking for? They said that this has been majorly an occupation on their territory. Is Israel able to make that commitment to leave them alone and let them live their lives?
Well, more than that, as I said to you, in 2000, we made an offer for an independent Palestinian state. They rejected it. In 2008, we made an offer for an independent Palestinian state on the West Bank and in Gaza and a division of Jerusalem. They rejected it. In 2005, we left Gaza. Let's be clear here. On the 6th of October, there was not a single Israeli soldier inside Gaza. There wasn't a single Israeli citizen inside Gaza. There was none. We left. We gave them the opportunity to build a new reality.
Your allies have been drawn into this conversation, and the accusation about how the United States also condoned Israel to, in quote unquote, the words of Hamas yesterday, that terrorized their own people and subjugated them, occupied their land. Are you having more allies? For example, what kind of conversation are you having with a country like Nigeria that is also split? The Nigerian people are split between the beliefs and the philosophy of Palestinians and Israel. What kind of conversation are you officially and unofficially?
We have conversations with all our friends. We also have conversations with people that aren't our friends. Where fortunately Nigeria is a very good friend of Israel. We have fantastic relations between our two countries. And I think the Nigerians understand what terrorism is. You know, unfortunately, Nigeria has been affected by Boko Haram, by ISWAP, by all of these radical terror organizations. And therefore, I know that Nigeria understands terrorism. And when we're having conversations, of which I'm not going to expose conversations that are had in detail, but we talk with all of our allies, we talk with all of our friends, we listen to their concerns, we listen to their worries, and we also appreciate their understanding that tackling terrorism and tackling extremism such as Hamas is critical, it's important, and every country has the right to defend itself, especially after the vicious murder, terror, butchering and rape that Hamas carried out on October 7th.
What's your response hearing that Ahmad says that they're having conversation with top Nigerian government officials?
Well, again, I would say to you that that Hamas tend to lie on all sorts of different issues. Hamas are an organization that is a terror organization, and I would take any single thing that a representative of the terror organization.
So you don't
Hamas
believe that they have a conversation?
Anything they say, I would say to you, you should be very, very careful about anything they say. And if you listen carefully to what he said yesterday, he said he hopes to be having conversations, not that he's having conversations. And I think that that's an important distinction. And I know that again, with Hamas, Hamas are trying everything they can to talk to anybody and everybody. But everybody here understands, and everybody around the world understands, that Hamas is a brutal, evil terror organization. And I will tell you that it's important that we remember also the 134 hostages. Yesterday, Agam Goldstein, who is 17 years old, and she was a young Israeli who was held as a hostage by Hamas. And she was released, and she was describing on television yesterday what the current hostages are going through. And she gave the story of one hostage who was being who told her the story that one of her Hamas captors, one of her Hamas terror captors, put a gun against her head, stripped her naked, and I'm not going to go into the details on television, but sexually and physically abused her whilst holding a gun against her head. So we have to remember there are 134 hostages being held by Hamas who are being sexually and physically abused every moment. And I think that it's important that the world calls for their immediate release. So
you would say that Nigerian government should not be talking to Hamas. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. I would say to you that there is no government that should be talking to Hamas. No one should be talking to any terror organization. And I'm confident that the Nigerian government isn't talking to Hamas unless it's to tell them to release the hostages. Hamas is not a government. Hamas is a radical terror organization whose entire aim is to destroy the state of Israel and murder every single Jew around the world.
Ambassador Freeman, are you one of those Nigerian allies who left Nigeria in the cold when Nigeria needed help to fight terrorists on our soil? And how would you defend, how much of help did you give to Nigeria militarily and in terms of intelligence?
So I'm not going to discuss on television what we do and don't do in details, or certainly in the security realm. It would be inappropriate for me as an ambassador to tell you what we did. What I can tell you is that Israel and Nigeria are friends. Israel and Nigeria are allies. Israel and Nigeria understand the common threat of security, of radical Islamist terror organizations, of radical terror organizations, and we cooperate and work together wherever we can, and our hand is always open to work with our allies, to help them and to work with them and to coordinate and to learn from each other on what we can do to tackle terrorism.
All right. Just before we close this conversation, what would you be saying as your final thought right tonight to the rest of the world, to people who are watching right now in Gaza, those who are watching in Israel and in all parts of the world, about the possibility of peace returning to the region? Just in about 30 seconds, if you may.
We didn't want this war. This was a war that was thrust upon us by Hamas on the 7th of October. We want our hostages back, 134 hostages, we want them back. We want the end of Hamas so they can never carry this out again. Our enemies are Hamas, not the Palestinian people. We are living in the same region as the Palestinian people. We know that they will be our neighbors, and we want a better future. I'm a father of 2 young children, and I have to hope that we will have a better future for me, for my children, and for the Palestinians.
Ambassador Michael Freeman is Israeli ambassador to Nigeria. Thank you so much indeed for your thoughts tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for
having me.
Thank
you so much. Thank you. We'll take a break, everyone, and when we return, we'll delve into the politics of Edo State as the APC prepare for the Saturday governorship primary. Washington Osifo will be joining me. He's a governorship hopeful ahead of that election. Stay with us at the right. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Now on to Edo politics. The All Progressives Congress National Working Committee has announced Senator Hope Uzodinma of Imo State as the chairperson of a 7-member team that will conduct the APC governorship primary in Edo State. This was contained in a statement issued by Suleiman Al-Gungu, the APC National Organizing Secretary, earlier today in Abuja. Governor Basio II of Cross River will serve as his deputy chair of that committee. Other members of the committee are former Osun Deputy Governor Titilayo Tomori, APC's candidate in the 2023 Plateau governorship election, and Tanwe Yewatide, Umar Musa, and Lawan Garrett. Those are some of the members of that committee. Meanwhile, there's a lot of anxiety in the air ahead of Saturday. 12 persons, some of whom you already know them, Pastor Osageze Yamud, Anamero De Kerry, Lucky Maswine, Clem Agba, and a host of others. Some of them are sitting members of the National Assembly. 12 of them will be on the ballot in Edo State for the direct primaries that will be conducted. Let's get the conversation started with Washington Osifo himself. He wanted the ticket of the party, but he's here. He's out of the 12. He's not one of the chosen 12. Thank you so much, Mr. Osifo, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Shane.
I appreciate it. What is going on? How is Saturday looking like for APC in Edo State?
Well, it's looking very good. There's nothing unusual about what is happening. Contestation for a seat that is of value to the Nigerian people, most particularly the Edo people. So there's nothing strange. There's nothing wrong about what is happening. It's just a contestation of ideas. There's brotherly game of wit. I just hope and pray that they don't take it out of contest. That's exactly what is happening.
So what do you make of some of the back and forth that we're getting? There are those who are accusing, for example, the leader of your party, Comrade Adams Oshiomhole. If you watch the interview 2 days ago with Mr. Idahagbo, Henry Idahagbo, former Attorney General of Edo State, who says he knows that the leader is supporting a particular aspirant. Is that true?
Well, you see, for me, I watched with pains, very deep pains, you know, knowing where we were in 2016 and where we are now, and the desire of most Edo people, not just the APC people, you know, to see how we can regain Edo back from, you know, the tight fist of Godwin Obaseki, who has been very, 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 I mean, unfair to the Edo people, and particularly the 14 of us. We were in the trenches, you know, we suffered very well, and you know, I entered the race and I wanted to run, but one thing that I always tell myself is that, look, Washington, when you are contesting for what is not yours by inheritance, the first thing you know is that it's either win or lose. you must be fair in all that you do when you are seeking for public office. So I was very disappointed that, I don't know what, came over my friend, the way he spoke. He didn't speak like an elder statesman. I thought that himself being a good politician, he should know what to do at this time. Anybody who speaks against the party or anyone aspiring to lead our state in our party by this time, at best, it's not doing the party any good. Wisdom is profitable to direct. And I thought that an elder like him should have displayed wisdom. It's normal to have the feelings, to not to agree with others in their views, but it is wrong, when you know that you may just be helping the opposition party, other political parties who will be contesting for this same, position in the general election. It is wrong to give them materials to work with. This is what I think wasn't fair in the statement of Henry Dagbo.
He had said that there were mistakes that were made, and he thought that the leader of the party led them to making those mistakes. He said he made reference to 2020. He made reference to also the election prior to that, where he, according to him, says that Comrade Oshomole brought in Godwin Obaseki, and that did not work. That at the end of the day, it didn't go well for the party. Again, bringing Pastor Osage Izeyamu, he said that was a misstep also, and that they are worried that going by what they're hearing, that if the party go in that direction, it wouldn't portend well for the party. Do you think that there were mistakes, according to him, being made by the leader of the party, Adams Oshomole?
You don't talk people down just to have your way. For instance, he has been a beneficiary. He benefited so much from the man we are talking about, from Adams Oshomole, our leader. How was he supposed to know? As a man, there's no act to find the man's construction on the face. I believe that. Even God, since when he created man, he has never rested. Can it now be said that because God created man and man disappointed God, and all of us, life must cease to exist? No. He knows that one of those who supported Godwin Obaseki in 2016, truly so, was himself. He was the man who was first called to champion the cause, when most of us, including myself, fought against the nomination, the support for giving to Governor Obaseki, who was Mr. Godwin Obaseki at that time. We saw what was to happen. He convinced us. He fought us to ensure that Godwin emerged. He was the best friend of our dear leader, as at that time, while we were fighting against him. In 2020, it was the same thing. I supported Pastor Sagi Zeyamo. I was one of the henchmen who worked for the emergence of Pastor Sagi Zeyamo. No regrets. Now, it was not just the choice of our leader. It was the choice of some of us, that's in 2020, who supported him to pull through that choice. And in 2016, I didn't support Godwin, to be governor. But that doesn't mean that there were no others who also joined him. It's about consultation. It's about discussion. Even now, nothing says, and this is what I must say, himself, at very many times, he has been asked or has reason to support somebody who is asking for a lower office, whether by appointment or by election, maybe even the position of a councillor. As a leader, he cannot say he will stay aloof. It's not possible. Whether you stay aloof or not, one way or the other, you are talking to somebody to say, this is what I think. And a leader who doesn't take a stand is not worthy of being called a leader. So for me, yes, I am reasonably close to our leader. I can tell you that because one thing I have never done in my life, I have never, ever, betrayed anybody. And those who betray people, he doesn't like them around him. But he tolerates everybody. Now, I would have been, for instance, be angry that, yes, Washington, the battle we fought against Godwin. We lost my seat for 4 years together with my 13 colleagues. If there's anybody who should be angry that I wasn't shortlisted, I have not fallen short of anything in terms of knowing what to do and how to do it. In governance of Edo, haven't been there. No, but for me, it is not about me. I said it clearly. It's about my party.
So you know what what is playing out. You say you're close to Comrade Adams Oshomole.
Very well.
Now, who is he supporting?
You see, I can't say, just answer the question, who is he supporting?
Who are you supporting?
Now, let me tell you. No,
who are you supporting?
First, who I know Comrade Adams Aliyu Shomole is supporting is anyone who can deliver and win for APC.
And who is that?
It is not about who is that. Now, look at what we have done. When I say we, I was in the race. I should tell the story better than the man that came there before yesterday. I was in the race. We all agreed, the 29 of us, when we were consulted in a meeting, we agreed. And let there be, a committee. We agreed, we the 29 of us. And we also agreed that whatever becomes of the outcome of that committee, we will abide. Men should be ready to do what they agree to do at any time. For me, who am I supporting? I am supporting that same person either in the central, on the north, or in the south, just what we have done, looking at them, the best that I think can give our party winning. That is the truth.
And who is that?
I'm supporting Dennis Idausa. That is the truth.
So it's true that
listen.
Hold on.
Excuse me.
Just a moment.
Yeah.
So it's true that Comrade is supporting Dennis Idausa?
Is Comrade Washington?
You say you are close to him. You are close ally to him.
Listen.
So because Henry Idausa said it yesterday, two nights ago, that Comrade is supporting Dennis Idausa, and that might be the man who might emerge by the influence of Comrade Adams Oshiomhole. And so if you, a close ally, are saying the same thing, he then points out that maybe Henry Idausa was right.
Now, is Henry Idausa not close to Comrade? This is the question. We are all close to Comrade. Now, you see, I just told you, I have always been close to Comrade. In 2016, even as a sitting commissioner, serving as Commissioner for Education, I told Comrade I will not support Godwin Obaseki. I always have the conviction to say no when I need to say no. Okay? I'm not a baby. I'm not a child.
So why do you think Dennis Idausa is the right person for your party?
Yeah, because, you see, first, let me put it this way. What gave me joy when I was still contesting is that the 29 of us in that race, fantastic men and women, or any one of us will be the governor and we will do very well. Now I'm not there. But I've also looked at other considerations. And I've come to the ineluctable conclusion that the one it's my choice. I have a right to make choice. And I've made my choice. And my choice is Dennis. Okay, first, Dennis was a colleague in council in Edo State. Okay? Again, Dennis is a youth. He's mobile, he's agile. And I've also seen his antecedent as a young man. Let me tell you, when people speak of intelligence, I don't know how they define intelligence. For me, when there is contestation between intelligence and reasonableness should take precedent. Yes, you can be intelligent and very unreasonable. But if you are reasonable, the question is, how will a reasonable man react in any situation? If you have a governor or a leader that is reasonable, I prefer it far over and above. I will stay with you over intelligence. So
the contestation over issue of zoning, and for anyone who watched the interview that I had with Comrade Adams Oshiomhole on Sunday, and he's made it clear that as a leader, he doesn't think that it is fair for anyone to want to say he wants to be governor of Edo State from his party coming from his senatorial zone, because he believes that him as a leader of the party who has served 8 years as governor, the minister from Edo State, the only minister of Edo State, Mr. His name is skipping me now. Momo, yeah. He's from his own zone, and he doesn't think that it's fair to have a governorship candidate of his party from the same zone. But the lies of Clem Agba, the lies of Pastor Izeyamu, and a host of others, the likes of Honorable Anamero Dekeri, may not agree with that. And you heard the argument of Henry Idausa saying that does not hold water, because at some point in the history of the state, there have been governor and minister from the same zone, and nothing has happened.
And now, you see, when you try to juxtapose the situations, we're in opposition. And when you are in opposition, all men must be fair in making judgment, except they don't just want us to win. Now, when he talks about...
because your party wants to win, that's why you want to go to the south?
Of course. Of course. First, we are 58.8%.
In the south?
Yes, in the south. You know the numbers, Shehu. You know the numbers. Harry knows the numbers. I am sure Harry wants to win as much as we want to win. Let me tell you, sometimes, that is what I said, that it may not necessarily, if you table all conditions before you take a position, you must look at it. And viewing from numbers, and other conditions, then you must go with the numbers. And again, the age demography. Okay? Now, let me tell you, he said, for instance, that it's just, look at the way he even said it's just 43. No, that was most uncharitable, to describe a human being. Now, Henry Dagbon was chairman of council. Way, way back, much younger person. He ran that council very well, and he got an award as the best local government chairman of Edo State from an opposition party. A little boy, as he then was. Today, he's talking about a 43-year-old in 21st century and denying him of a right to even ask or to rule the Edo people. And this is a man that has occupied several positions, and now he's serving as a second term in the National Assembly. And they call him Mr. Project in where he comes from. So for me, you can disagree with a man that is aspiring to be anything, but you don't talk him down when you know that even the Constitution, though the framers of the Constitution are aware that it could have been nice to say, for you to be the governor or president of Nigeria, you must be a professor or at least a second degree holder. But that is not the case here. Now, what they're trying to do is that they are aware, those who frame the Constitution are well aware that you don't have to get to the top of education, the ladder of education, to be reasonable.
But there are those who will ask you that, look, shouldn't the likes of Osage Izeyamo be given a chance of first refusal? He was the candidate of the party in the last election.
Yeah, but, those who will say that, you can't take it away from them. Yes, it's a fair position to take. But the truth is that, again, you also look at it, it's a contestation of ideas for reasons best known to all. The superior argument eventually will take the place. But let me commend Pastor Osage Izeyamo. You see, I have listened to him talk, even in this contest. He has not said anything to demarcate the party, because himself is aware of something, that in 2020, when he came and joined us, some of us to say we wanted him to be, and if indeed God helped us, he got a ticket. For reasons best known to us at that time, it is for that same reason now we are saying, at this time, what would be best is to look at the demography of the youth. You see, what is wrong in giving the youth, an opportunity to also serve?
And perhaps one way to wrap up this is, there is Anamero Dakeri, there is Clem Agba, from the same Senatorial district from Comrade Adams Oshomole. Those are equally very strong candidates, very popular on the ground. They have their networks with the people, and it's a direct primary. It's a possibility of an upset in this game against the run of play. If, for example, based on what is being said that Comrade Adams Oshomole is backing Dennis Idahosa, could you see some of these persons coming from Senator Oshomole's Senatorial district causing an upset?
Well, in politics, in life generally, anything can happen. But I think what is happening here is this. First, like I said before, the 29 of us, credible men and women who could, at any time, rule the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But today, we're fortunate to have all of us. We were fortunate to have all of us asking for this. And like you said, talking about upset, one thing I like about them that I want to commend them for, none of the aspirants, even as of today, is demarketing the party. So my caution to those that are supporting the aspirants, don't say what the aspirants are not saying. Because the aspirants are determined that when eventually, after Saturday, one emerges, at either of them, it could be Dennis, it could be any other person. But the truth is that they must all come together, we must all come together to ensure we give Godwin Obaseki and his party a run for their money.
All right. Washington, not the capital of the United States, but Honorable Washington Osifo, a member of the APC, a governorship hopeful in Edo APC. Thank you so much indeed for your time. And I wish you and your party the very best.
Thank you so much.
In Saturday's election.
Thank you so much, Shay.
And that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Shaw Kimale. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. Bye-bye.